Hello, third grade parents. My name is Abigail Deatley. I'm the second and third grade math and literacy facilitator here at Moorhead. And for the next few minutes, we're going to be talking about the Read to Achieve program, which is some North Carolina legislation that was passed last year that really affects our third grade teachers and students. The goal of this legislation was to make sure that all students are proficient readers by the end of third grade. It gives these students multiple opportunities to show their reading proficiency, and it gives extra support to third and fourth grade students in their reading. There are a few measures that we use for reading proficiency in third grade, including the beginning of grade and end of grade test. Your child has already taken the beginning of the grade test in the first couple of weeks of school. You should have seen those reports come home. They measure their progress on reading standards, and they indicate if the student is on track. Those score ranges are level 1, which is the lowest, all the way up to a level 5, which is very high. And then the EOG is in reading and math. So the beginning of grade test is only reading, end of grade test is reading and math, so that we can see a student's growth from the beginning of grade to end of grade in reading, comparing those two assessments. The reading and math are both all multiple choice tests, A, B, C, D, and for the reading one, they read selections and then they answer several questions that go along with that reading passage. Another assessment tool that we use is MClass Reading 3D. This is not a written test. This is that reading level that you've seen come home, A through Z, A being a very low, kindergarten reading level, and Z being all the way up to 8th graders, that long chapter books and everything. They help our teachers design their instruction, and teachers have a deep understanding of what each level entails and the skills that they need to move from one level up to the next level. These are listening to a child read from a book and judging their accuracy based on how they read it, and then some tasks that include written comprehension answers and oral comprehension. There is a Home Connect letter that comes home with that, so you can see if your child is on track or ahead of track or a little behind, that you should have seen multiple times now. The goal for the beginning of the grade is an M, the middle of the grade is O, and by the end of the grade, we hope that students will be at a P reading level. Another assessment is reading portfolios. These are short written tests, A, B, C, D, multiple choice. It's almost like the EOG broken up into lots of tiny pieces. They are focused on one standard at a time, which really helps our teachers differentiate their instruction by seeing how students perform on different standards. We give 2 of these a week. There are 5 questions. There are 12 standards that are assessed, and we give 3 of each, which by the end of the year will be at least 36 assessments that we've given. On each standard, of the 3 tests on each standard, they need 70% or higher average in order to pass the portfolio. So for all 12 standards, they need to have an average of 70 per little bit to have more effect. If your student is reading at or above proficiency in third grade, we will, of course, continue to progress monitor them. We want to make sure everybody's staying on track. And we will make sure that we're using complex texts with those students to make sure they are continuing to get pushed to get that highest level they can on the EOG. And the goal for everyone is to become an independent reader. So now is non-promotion. When a child is not promoted to third grade, this legislation says sort of it's not really up to anybody's discretion anymore. It's really up to these data measures based on this legislation. So if your child scores a level 1 or 2 on the reading EOG, you will receive notification in writing that they have not passed the assessment, and this assessment takes place towards the end of May. They will then have a second opportunity a few days later to retake only the reading test. Third grade is the only grade that gets to retake the EOG. And they will then have a few more days and will have a third chance to take it, only if they do not pass the first 2 times. After that third chance comes reading camps. So these are offered by CMS at no cost to parents over the summer. They include at least 72 hours of reading instruction over about at least 3 weeks. And after that camp is the 4th opportunity for students to take their Read to Achieve test. And they'll also continue to work on their reading portfolio throughout that to see if they can get that 70% on each standard. However, parent and guardians decide student attendance to the reading camp. So if you do not want your child attending it and you want to opt to immediately give them the retention reading label, that's an option. But, of course, we want students to get as much instruction as possible and be as successful as they can be. So if your child still does not pass after that fourth opportunity, they will have a retained reading label in PowerSchool. And the following year, they will receive extra intensive interventions and opportunities, extra time to catch up in reading and build stronger skills in other content areas. And we try to really address where the reading deficiencies are before we get to more difficult work and assignments. And we do this with this sort of a third, fourth transitional class the following school year. They cover fourth grade standards and curriculum, but there's a lot of intensive reading work, meeting your child where they are at their reading level and what they're ready for. They have at least 90 minutes of uninterrupted reading instruction each day that includes one-on-one and small group instruction, lots of progress monitoring to make sure they're staying on track, intervention strategies, and we make sure that we have a highly qualified teacher in that classroom, as well as research-based effective teaching strategies at all times. So now, if they are in that 3-4 transitional class, they get a fifth opportunity to take the Read to Achieve reading assessment around the beginning of November. And they continue working on that reading portfolio, trying to get to 70% on each standard. If they pass this fifth time, just like any of the other times, that retained reading label is removed. They will continue work on their portfolio, but they will no longer have the retained reading label in PowerSchool. The reason for all of these things is to early identify and intervene with struggling students, reduce the need for remedial classes in middle and high schools, increase our graduation rate, and make sure that all students are college and career ready when they do graduate. We're trying to be proactive and to offer multiple and intensive opportunities for reading interventions. If you have further questions, please feel free to contact the school. You can ask for your child's teacher. You can ask for me, Ms. Deatley. And if other questions might be answered by the red pamphlet that's gone home about the Read to Achieve Act, as well as this website here is a live binder specifically for parents with questions about Read to Achieve. If you could also please sign the slip that went home with this link on it so that we know you have watched our presentation, that you're fully familiar with Read to Achieve, that would be wonderful. And thank you so much for staying with us.